Let's try Jamil Jaffer once again, former chief counsel and senior advisor for the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Jamil, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Arron.
Perfect. Great to have you on the line. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. So Donald Trump criticising Israel. He says, let's not blow this deal, a deal he wants to be signed today. I mean, how much will Israel's attack on those southern suburbs of Beirut compromise any potential of a signing?
Well, look, I mean, the real parties compromising the potential for a signing here are the Iranians, who have never done what they've said they were going to do. They still say there is not a deal that they've agreed to, even though President Trump has said there is a deal they've agreed to and says the signing is happening today. During the ceasefire where the United States has stopped attacking Iran, they haven't opened the Strait of Hormuz. And so while they might point to the Israelis and say, look, you've done something wrong here by attacking Beirut, the reality is that, Hezbollah did attack Israel first in the north. President Trump said it was a small attack, shouldn't have been responded to. But the Israelis have made clear to both the president of the United States and to the Iranians and to Hezbollah, if you attack Israel, you're going to get hit. And that's what we saw here today.
So what's stopping Iran committing to this deal then, or at least this memorandum of understanding? Because it's not really a deal to end the war just yet, is it? It's more a step-by-step deal to try and get the Strait of Hormuz open, to take away the US naval blockade of Iranian ports, and then deal with the trickier issues afterwards.
That's right. It's a deal to go to a deal in 60 days from now. The problem, of course, here is that the Iranians think they have the United States on our back foot. They believe that President Trump wants a deal so badly, he'll do almost any deal. And the question is are they going to be willing to give up all of their enriched uranium? Are they going to be willing to give up the ability to enrich uranium domestically? Are they going to really give up their nuclear weapons? And are they really going to stop supporting terrorism? Because if they're going to stop supporting terrorism, why do they care if Israel attacks Hezbollah, a well-known terrorist group? They care, of course, because Hezbollah is their proxy and they're going to continue to support them. And so this is, I think, the challenge of any interim or long-term deal with Iran is they don't want to do what it takes to get to the kind of deal the U.S. president has said he wants and he is insisting on. But, of course, if he's willing to give in now, they will assess that he'll be willing to give in 60 days. And so I think that's why you don't have a lot of deal space here and why the Iranians keep saying they don't have a deal. The president says we might have a deal. We'll see. But at the end of the day, if this deal is not a good one for the United States, which is to say if it allows Iran to keep the enrichment capability domestically and allows them to continue to support terror, that's a deal that's either as bad as or worse than the very Obama nuclear deal that President Trump himself got rid of the last time around and then began attacking Iran on the basis of in the last few weeks and months.
But how much responsibility does Donald Trump then bear for putting Iran in what could well be seen as a stronger bargaining position? Given that he attacked the country, it's demonstrated amply that it can withstand military pain, economic pain, and now it has this bargaining chip of the Strait of Hormuz, which Donald Trump and the rest of the world needs to have opened. And as you mentioned, Donald Trump needs to get out of this. He needs an off-ramp, and he needs to be able to sell it to the American public as a win.
No, you're exactly right, Arron, and I think that's the real challenge here. To my mind, the way to get the advantage back, to get the negotiating leverage back, is to open the strait by force, is to force the strait open the same way that Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s by escorting ships through the strait and daring the Iranians to attack us. And if they do attack, to deal a devastating blow to their capability to do that. The president isn't willing to do that because he's not currently willing to put American troops on the line. But in the absence of being willing to do that and to escort ships through the strait and or return to the attacks on Iran's mainland, it's going to be very hard for him to get leverage back. And I think that's the challenge he faces today. He knows he's in this box. He doesn't like being in it. And the question becomes, how do you get to an actually good deal without having the leverage or having the cards, as he once famously told President Zelensky?
But he's also dealing with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, and the amount of leverage he has over him. I mean, how much will today's developments test exactly how much influence Donald Trump has over Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, I mean, the thing about the Netanyahu-Trump relationship is that Netanyahu has always been clear with President Trump, and President Trump has been clear back with Prime Minister Netanyahu, which is if you're attacked, you have the right and freedom to respond in self-defense. And even in this tweet that you saw, or this Truth Social post from the president, he made clear Israel does have the right to defend itself against Iranian proxy attacks from Hezbollah. The problem is how big should the response be, and should the response be in response to what President Trump calls a small attack? But of course, if you're sitting there in Israel and you're the prime minister, any attack against civilians in Israel coming from a terrorist group in Lebanon is not small. If people die or get injured, in this case, it's not clear that there were any injuries or deaths, as President Trump said in his Truth Social post. That's going to make it very hard for you not to respond. And so, there's this back and forth between them. There is a lot of influence I think the president has over Netanyahu, but Netanyahu has made clear, I will respond regardless of whatever happens if there are strikes on my country. And President Trump said, yeah, you have the right to do that.
But of course, as we mentioned earlier, all those really tricky issues, uranium enrichment, the missile program, the nuclear program that Iran has, the sanctions that the US still holds over it, all of those to be dealt with slightly further down the line. I mean, what's your gut feeling here about how it plays out today, at the very least? And is there any cynicism about why Donald Trump is pushing so hard today, given that it is his birthday?
Well, look, I think there is a lot of people who've raised that point, and it's clear he wants to get to a deal. But he's made this point almost nearly, 3 dozen times that we're close to a deal. We're going to get a deal done. We're doing a deal in the next few days. So he's been putting pressure on. It's true that it is his birthday today, but he's putting pressure on, been putting pressure on for quite a while. And so the real question is the Iranians see that? And the question is, do they assess that to be weakness on his part? And do they assess that they can get more out of him if they wait another day, a week, a month? There is at some point, as we all know with Donald Trump, where the Iranians are going to push him too far and he will react strongly in a way that they're not going to be prepared for and not going to be happy about. If they were smart, they'd do a good deal now. It doesn't appear either side, though, is going to get that deal today. We'll see, but it seems unlikely at this point in the day.
Jamil, thank you very much indeed for joining us on LBC News. Great to get your analysis today.
Thanks for having me on.
Jamil Jaffer there, former chief counsel and senior advisor for the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Worth waiting and reconnecting to get his analysis.